Hello, my name is Yosef DeFranco. I am an 11th grader from Chalenge, and I'll be presenting How Do Languages Open the World to You. As Ludwig Wittgenstein once said, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. It wouldn't be right for me to talk about how languages have opened the world to me without saying a few words about the foundation of the language and how it has transformed our lives. The term language is stated as a system of communication used by a particular community or country, in some cases, countries. In history, long before writing in alphabets, people would use the simplest forms of sounds to express, discuss, or ask for anything they needed. This means of communication has been evolving throughout time. There are approximately 6,500 different languages that are spoken around the world. And nowadays, the more languages you know, the more open the world is to you. Up to date, approximately 500 million people around the world speak Spanish. These are 500 million different individuals that you wouldn't be able to communicate with, share experiences with, or relate to unless you're able to speak Spanish. For me, it's important to know more than one language so you don't limit yourself to one demographic group when there are thousands of different cultures to explore. Luckily, I've been fortunate enough to live a life where I dominate two languages, Spanish and English. This means I can fully interact with around 2 billion individuals. Can you fathom how many stories I could hear if I spoke to each and every one of those people? From a very early moment in my life, I captured that gratefulness that not a considerate amount of people can experience. I learned that dominating more than one language could open doors for me into different opportunities, different life stories, and most importantly, different experiences. Due to this, I am very open and keen to learning a new language, because being able to interact with a new culture translates into new knowledge and a different way of seeing life. Now, a bit about myself. I was born in Venezuela in the year 1998. I moved to the United States when I was a year and a half, and I lived there until I was 12 years old. Most of my formation as a child was in English. And although my native tongue is Spanish, I didn't get to fully develop my Spanish speaking skills while I was living in the United States. I knew how to speak Spanish, but it was a very broken Spanish. While living there, I felt as if it was an unnecessary language. Since everybody in my town spoke English, there was no need for me to speak Spanish. In my mind, I was never going to have to speak a word of Spanish. My mom, who was born and raised in Venezuela and very tied to her heritage, urged me to learn Spanish and always told me that in my professional life, speaking Spanish would be a tremendous asset. As any young child would have done, I ignored her. Thankfully, I had the chance to redeem my mindless decision to ignore my mom's advice, and in a turn of events, due to my father's work, my family and I had to move to Panama. When we arrived in Panama, a Spanish-speaking country, I had no choice but to speak Spanish. Imagine thinking that you were never going to have to speak a word of Spanish to suddenly getting a Spanish overdose. At first, obviously, it was a challenge for me, but like all great things in life, you have to pass by the rain to get to the rainbow. After struggling for several months, I was able to fully immerse myself in the Panamanian culture, and my whole outlook on life changed. I would think back to the time when I used to live in the United States, and to be completely honest, I was ignorant. I was ignorant to the acceptance of other cultures. I was ignorant to change. But most importantly, I was ignorant to the different experiences that come with different societies. Languages and the proper use of them are essential for creating positive relations in life, and that is what having two languages at my disposal has taught me. Incorporating Spanish in my day-to-day life gave me the opportunity to meet many different people that have honestly changed my life and the way I see it. I've also learned that the way you speak portrays a permanent impression of yourself. Now, a little story. I remember one time I was walking through Casco Viejo, which is the old part of Panama City, when an old man came up to me and started to narrate his life. He revealed problems to me that he was having with his girlfriend and asked me for my juvenile point of view. I told him my opinion on the situation and what I would do if I were him. He thanked me for taking the time to help him, told me a friendly goodbye, and left. At first I was confused. An old man came up to me and just started talking to me. But then I realized that because I could speak Spanish, I had the opportunity to listen and help a Spanish-speaking stranger, something I wouldn't have even dreamed of a couple years back. I started thinking about the situation and said to myself, maybe this isn't information that I can use later in life, but maybe, just maybe, I might have made that old man happier, or I might have solved his problems. Sometimes people just need someone to talk to. The message I'm attempting to convey defines what I believe the world is all about: interacting with people, listening to what random strangers have to say. Because at the end of the road, the only thing that stays with us are friends made, experiences that we have lived through, and knowledge we have received. What do all of these things have in common? Languages facilitate the accessibility to these three things. Thank you.